Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Chris Cortell Classic Plastic 101 celebration of life build. I'm just going to show, it's just going to be a short update. I just started working on the Cyclops actually yesterday. I wanted to show you just some parts and some things. Here is something that Chris didn't show you. Here's the mouth. This is the bottom jaw. And this is the top jaw. And you have to put these in before you build the head. But this is what he was talking about. He had to paint these first because you can't get to them after you put them in the head. So I'm going to be priming these tonight. I'm just going to use a brush to prime them. I'm going to use this Vallejo surface primer, and it's skeleton bone. So I'll be shaking this real good. I just got a new Vortex shaker for these paints. So I'll be priming this and then painting inside of here. And I think the skeleton bone is a good choice. I'll see what color that is on the teeth. If it's a little bit too brown, I may have to lighten it up, to make it more off-white so that they stand out, because the body's going to be an off-brown. We all know what the Cyclops looks like. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that. That's the inside of the mouth, what it looks like before it's done. Other things I'd gotten together. Here's the bottom half of him. And you can see the seams. Now I'll be able to fill them in with the resin and all that. That's not too much of a problem. But there's things in here that, like if you look at the bottom here, you can see these seams are raised. They're not, level. They're raised. And so I want to get rid of that. There's seams down the leg here. They may be hard to see, but there is a seam that runs right down this leg. You can see where it ends here. Starts here and it runs right up this leg, and it's raised. And I remember with talking with Chris, whenever you have a raised seam, you can see here on the torso, this is raised. So I can't fill that with resin until I level it out, if I even need to fill it with resin after I level it out. But I remember with talking with Chris, and I've been doing it for a long time, when you're working with figures, and sometimes even the automotive stuff, with this kind of thing, use a rat tail file, a round file. So I'll be using that to take care of these seams, because using that, you can slowly use it. You turn it. I turn it like backwards, towards me as I'm going across, and I slowly do it, and it just works on a seam, and then it keeps the shape. It doesn't distort the shape like a flat file would. And I have seams, they're all right down here, and they're raised. I don't know if you can see that. This seam runs right down here, and it's raised. So there's that. The arms, you can really see seams here, on the arms. Now the glue that I use is Plastrux welding cement glue, so it kind of melts the plastic together. But I don't know if you can see this seam here. I could see it on my camera, so I know you guys can see it. This whole seam running right down his arm, all the way up to his fingers and all, it's raised. So I have to get in here with this rat tail file and slowly work that down to get that level. So I'm going to have to work on that. Same thing on the other side. You can see the seam right here. That's all I got to get worked down. This is an opening, but I filled it. It's been filled with that Plastrux glue. And the brush, I put it in the the Tamiya, container, this container, but it's Plastrux plastic weld. So it's melted to glue the plastic together. So I may be able to, get away with. I'll check that out when I'm brushing. I'll brush a little over this and see how it covers and see if that is filled or not, or if that gap is open. I don't know if you could see that. See that opening? It may be filled with glue. And then all around these fingers, Chris had talked about that. All has to be cleaned up and taken care of so that you don't see gaps and seams. Same thing on the other hand. You can see this seam right here is a real bad seam. See that seam? Real bad seam, and it's raised. So I have to get it even. And then once I get it even, then I can fill it with resin. Anything that's opened. But that all has to be taken care of. I don't know if Chris's kit was like that or Chris just didn't mention that. The body, his upper torso seems to be okay. His shoulders seem to be good. And all that, his side, all this. This all seems to be good and going together, nice and tight. But you can see over here, this was an opening, but it's filled with that Plastrux glue. So I'll make sure that this is level, and then I'll just run a little bit, maybe a paintbrush of that surface primer down to see if it's filled before I airbrush primer anything. Here is the club, and for the spikes, I have the bits. It's a 2.1 millimeter bit. I have to drill holes in here to put the spikes in, and this has the same thing. Seam runs down. It was 2 pieces, and it's raised. I don't know if you can see that at the top. See this? Right here? It's raised. So I want to keep the shape, so I'll be going over with this. And this all takes time, because I want this to come out as perfect as I can get it. The head, that's going together well. It looks weird with his mouth, big open mouth like that, But you can see here, see how this is open and apart? Now this isn't glued. This is just put together. But you can see if I squeeze it, see how it goes away? But I can't do anything with it until I take care of the mouth first, and then I take it apart, put the mouth in. The nose and the eyes are in. Here's where Chris was talking about the brow. Even if I squeeze that together as tight as I can't get rid of that opening. That's where that resin will come in. And around the horn. All the way around the horn is going to need that resin. No matter how hard I squeeze, it doesn't close up. So that's where it'll need the resin. But I have other things to do before I can. His ears are in. They seem to be fine. And underneath the chin, you can see when I squeeze it, some goes away and some doesn't. And this is what Chris was talking about. Down in here is a really tough spot to get to. And right in here, the bottom of his chin is going to have to be cleaned up. And it takes time because of just the way that he's, the way his skin is and all that. You got to take your time. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have known, but Chris filmed his videos, because he had told me. Chris filmed his videos in advance. And he did that because of when he would be in the hospital, he wasn't sure, how long he would be in there. If he wasn't feeling well, things like that. He wasn't sure if he was going to be out of commission for a certain period of time and all that. So when he felt good, he loved the hobby. And when he felt good, he would sit down at the table. He'd work for hours. And he would clean all this stuff up, and he would, fill in all the gaps and all that. And then he would break his videos up into small pieces. one of the things where you can tell, and I believe that he had, I'm not sure if he has a video on his computer of him painting this. And it just, his wife's his family hasn't put it out. But I know he finished this model. And how I know that he finished this model is because if you look at the opening of the 2 videos and the opening that I borrowed from his 2 videos of him building this kit, when he's showing the box, the very beginning, he's showing the box standing there. The Cyclops is already built, so is the cage, and the figures are inside of it. They're already finished. They're done. And then he goes and he shows the video, and the first video, excuse me, the first video he shows you the head and a few other things. And then the next video he shows you, some that he had painted the mouth, and then he gets into the priming, and then boom, he shows you the whole thing is primed and all that. He didn't show you and get into all the little seam details. He talked about them and talked about cleaning things up, but he didn't get into showing you all those little seam details that you would have to clean up. He just figured you already knew that. He didn't have to tell you that. And that's the way he did his videos. He had told me that he broke them up. And he did that for a reason, so that he would have a multitude of videos already downloaded and ready to go for YouTube. And he would have them, they would be released at certain dates and times. So while he was healing after a procedure that he would have done, he would have videos coming out, every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, however he would, decide to do it. That's how he did his videos. And you can tell that in the beginning of this, like I already said. Just look at the very beginning of the video. You will see. How else would he get that picture? He finished this. This model was completely built, and he'd already had the monster primed. I don't know if he had the cage and those figures primed, but he already had the Cyclops was primed, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a video on his computer that hasn't been released of him have already started to paint, other than the priming of this figure. I could almost bet you it is, because you can see it in the beginning of the video. You can see that this entire model was already complete and built before he showed you the Cyclops primed. And that's just one of the secrets of how Chris would film his videos. He had everything always planned out so that he could release stuff as need be when he would be out of commission, or he knew he was going to be, he did things in advance so that he could do other things in his life. When he would sit down at the table, boom, he'd sit down at the table, and he'd be there for long periods of time, as long as he could. And he would finish as much up as he could. So, all right. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you in a couple weeks with the next update after I get this stuff all straightened out and cleaned up. And and primed and all that kind of thing. So, okay. We'll see you in a few weeks. Bye-bye now.